across the ring tonight stand opponent with trainers Father Vergil Ortiz Sr. and Robert Garcia. Dyeing blue with black, he too weighed in at 147 pounds. Tonight, this rising welterweight enters the contest perfect. 16 bouts, 16 victories, 16 huge wins coming by way of defeats. Introducing to you the current WBA Gold welterweight champion, the fighting pride of Grand Prairie, Texas, and representing Dallas, here is the undefeated, the phenomenal vergil Ortiz Jr.
Vergil. All right, gentlemen, it's an honor to work with y'all again, so I want you to obey my commands, protect yourself at all times, touch them up, and best of luck to both of y'all.
You know, Maurice Hooker went on the road to win his title against Terry Flanagan. He went on the road to defend it against Alex Saucedo. He's in his hometown tonight, but this sure feels like a road game for Maurice.
Hooker promises to test him like no one has before. But will that be enough to stop this knockout freight train from Grand Prairie, Texas, in front of a very raucous hometown crowd? Here we go, 12 rounds in the welterweight division. Ortiz Jr. in the black and blue, Maurice Hooker in the black and gold.
You can already see Hooker's long jab. I mean, that's a long reach right there by the former champion.
You wonder how Hooker's going to handle the first power punch that lands, and I think one just stung him a right hand. He backed up a little bit. And already, Ortiz trying to get Hooker out of his comfort zone.
Now remember, Hooker was knocked out by Jose Ramirez with junior welterweight power. This is the first time he's feeling real welterweight power.
And Hooker already exchanging with Ortiz Jr. He should stay behind that jab, but that's easier said than done when it comes to a freight train like Ortiz.
And Sergio, you've told me before, once a fighter cold cock like Hooker did when he faced Jose Ramirez, they're never the same.
They're never the same, and if they are a hint of what they were, shot once they get hit with that first big punch.
Hooker has plenty of power too, don't count him out. 27 wins, 18 KOs. Right hand again, Junior.
Hooker could definitely hurt you. He has power, especially behind that rangy, lanky right hand. If he catches you at the end of it, it can be trouble for Ortiz Jr.
Remember, Ortiz Jr. has never been past the 7th round. This is the 4th fight that's been scheduled for 12.
Yeah, that is definitely part of the game plan of Maurice Hooker, to survive some of these early rounds, get Ortiz into deeper water, and see if he can take advantage of territory you're more familiar with.
They're exchanging hooks, and you would think Hooker would not want to do that.
You don't exchange hooks with a hooker, especially a bigger hooker like Vergil Ortiz Jr.
Straight right hand again, down the pipe for Ortiz Jr.
The straight 1-2 that's going to be the money punches for Hooker. Just like that. Get your combinations and then get on that angle. Do not stand in front of Ortiz. After you throw your combinations, get a slight angle to the right or to the left.
Which fighter would benefit more going to the body?
Both of them are excellent body punchers. You would think Ortiz Jr. is a better body puncher because he's shorter and explosive, but Hooker, he throws mean down there, just like we're seeing right now.
You saw Hooker dig left hand to the liver, but Ortiz handled it well. That is the end of a pretty... They've each felt each other's power. Let's see how they settle in here in round number 2.
I think for Hooker, as important as it is to keep pumping that jab out there, he has got to get Ortiz's respect with one of his right hands. Ortiz has never been hurt in any of his fights. Hooker has to be the first to do it to have a chance.
Get those hands back up quick when you throw the body shots, because Ortiz Jr. ready to fire.
This is high-octane power by both fighters right now. It's just beautiful to watch. The counter-punching, the power from Ortiz Jr., the counter-punching from Hooker. It's going to be a great fight.
It's going to be a great fight if Hooker can continue to absorb those right hands from Ortiz.
And Hooker got knocked out by Jose Ramirez. And Sergio, you can speak to this because cutting weight affects your chin. Like if you are drained going into a fight, it affects your ability to take big shots.
Oh, absolutely. Both these fighters outgrew the 140-pound weight division. Only Ortiz did it developing naturally, and of course Hooker did it just with age, getting older.
That's a push. Halfway through round number 2.
Every shot is with bad intentions with Ortiz Jr. Even the jab comes out like a cannon, blasting away.
For keeping Ortiz Jr. at bay, that's what he said he needed to do.
Well, volume punching is what Maurice Hooker does. He averaged about 70 punches per round as a junior welterweight, so he's going to throw a lot back at Vergil Ortiz.
Like that jab by Ortiz Jr. The lefts and right around the glove. Just like that.
Big winging right hand, it was blocked, but it still affected Hooker.
Anytime you're dealing with a tall, lanky, rangy fighter with long arms, you gotta get their attention downstairs.
Oh, Hooker with a right hand right on the
inside. Don't let him fool you. He's an excellent body puncher, excellent inside fighter.
good round for Hooker, but Ortiz can certainly change it with one landed punch.
Nice right hand by
There's
Hooker.
one there and another left hook up against the wrist. And that'll do it for another.
Hooker is throwing the right counter punches, not staying there long enough to get caught with anything big by Ortiz Jr. and not standing in front of him. Excellent fight.
The fight Hooker had against Jose Ramirez was also very exciting until it wasn't, at least for Hooker when he was knocked out. This one also off to a great start.
That's the jab I need to see more of from Hooker, whether it's to the face, to the chest, or to the belly. Keep it out there. Keep touching something. Nice angle there by Ortiz Jr. Using his upper body just to get an angle.
Talk about the intensity from Ortiz Jr. He said he's never met anyone who hates to lose more than he did. He said he learned his multiplication tables in 3rd grade better than anyone else in his class so that he could say he was the best.
Well, he said he wanted to be a badass in math and the guitar and boxing. I asked him what's the hardest. I thought it was math, but he said boxing.
Math is harder for you than boxing. We know this.
Absolutely.
Dig into the body now as Ortiz Jr. Maurice Hooker answers back, but got caught in the process.
Hooker needs to tuck that chin in. He tucked them elbows in for the body shot, but tuck that chin in.
There's Terrence Crawford, 147-pound king watching.
Hooker does not want to exchange with the bigger puncher. Come on,
Maurice Hooker coming off a career-long 15-month layoff. He's logged 172 seconds of official action since July of 2019. Oh, left hand, left hook for Maurice Hooker.
Beautiful combination by Hooker. Like I said, don't let his size fool you. He can fight on the inside. Just don't get too comfortable. Go back outside and use that stick.
Now it's Ortiz showing us his jab.
There we go. Stay off the ropes of your hooker as well. Body shot by Ortiz Jr.
Look at Hooker trying to come forward here after a couple of power punches.
I'd like to see Hooker those body shots. He did it effectively in the first couple of rounds. Seems to have abandoned here in the third.
And the one thing that Vergil Ortiz told us about the jab, he started to learn the importance of a power jab in that Brad Solomon fight. Solomon was a tricky and cagey fighter, moved around, that took him out.
Good round here for Maurice Hooker.
Getting an angle after the combination. That's what I want to see more from Hooker.
You can see Ortiz Jr.'s face has got a lot of red on it. He's been eating some punches. And Vergil Ortiz exchanging the ropes, okay? You heard Robert Garcia say, don't get into those head games with Maurice Hooker. Don't talk trash. Focus on the game plan.
And Bo McIntyre, stay off the effing ropes if you're Hooker.
Chris Mannix's scorecard through 3 rounds.
I've got 3 rounds to none in favor of Vergil Ortiz. I think Hooker's done some pretty good work in spurts, but the heavier, cleaner shots are being landed by Vergil Ortiz.
Nice jab again from Ortiz Jr.
And there's the jab that I was talking about that he learned from. He learned how to use his jab a lot more appropriate when it comes to fighters that know how to fight behind that stick.
One thing I'm seeing with this jab is that more of Ortiz's jabs are getting through the guard. And Ortiz, in addition to being an excellent puncher, is a very disciplined defensive fighter. He keeps that guard up, and he's gobbled up some of those Hooker jabs.
Excellent head movement and subtle defense from Ortiz.
Nice right through the guard with the right hand for Vergil Ortiz, who's trying to get closer. Hooker doing his best to keep Ortiz Jr. at bay with the jab.
When it comes to such an explosive power puncher like Vergil Ortiz, that hands-up, earmuff defense is not going to be enough. Them gloves will penetrate through.
Good flurry there from Hooker. And wisely, he steps out, Sergio, and avoids the firefight.
He's doing some excellent counter-punching right here. Explosive, but not standing in front of him too long. This is the fight that Mo Hooker needs to be fighting. I like that feint. I like how he's on the outside. Beautiful counter-punching.
Again, Hooker a 10-1 underdog here tonight. Hooker heard that Vergil Ortiz Jr. was eyeing perhaps a showdown with Terrence Crawford after this win. Should he get it? Oh, there's a straight right hand for Hooker. That affected Ortiz Jr. a little bit.
That was the best punch of the night for Maurice Hooker.
Right there.
He was perturbed that Ortiz Jr. was perhaps looking past him, and he said, it's disrespectful, and I'm going to teach him a lesson. 30 seconds, round 4. What a fight this has been.
Hooker fighting off the front foot now, getting confident.
Best round of the fight for Maurice Hooker. Look at Mighty Mo go. Look at the face of Vergil Ortiz. Never seen him like this.
And that's those long jabs.
Round 5. What has been an enthralling contest in the 147-pound division. These two welterweights have brought it. Well, now Ortiz knows he's in a dogfight, Sergio.
And that's exactly what Maurice Hooker wanted to avoid. When we spoke to Terrence Crawford, said he has too much dog in him. That's why he fought for those dog fights. The right-hander needs to avoid that.
And now Hooker getting brave again. Maybe he's felt Ortiz Jr.'s power and is not impressed. If you look at their faces, Ortiz Jr. seems a little more banged up for sure. Round 4 was the first round that Hooker outlanded Ortiz Jr., who digs to the bottom. Got caught with a right-handed Ortiz.
Hooker's ending the short right hands. He's not relying on that long punch anymore. It's in the inside, nice and short.
Very similar punch statistics. It is a close fight.
I love the way that Maurice Hooker's keeping those elbows tucked in. Chin tucked in, elbows tucked in. That's where the power comes from.
And Sergio Ortiz Jr. hasn't even had to deal with being gassed out. He's never had to take rounds off. This is new territory for him.
And that's why we were curious to see how Vergil Ortiz Jr. is going to react in the second half of the fight. He takes out everyone in the first 6.5 rounds.
That body shot affected Hooker. He's got those elbows pinned in. He's buying time, is Hooker. The crowd rallying behind Ortiz Jr. Shots. Ortiz Jr. gets the best out of that exchange.
And this is the fight that Maurice Hooker wants to avoid. He's just going to take one shot. Get back on the outside. He's an excellent body puncher, excellent inside fighter, but stick to the game plan. Body shot hurt Hooker.
Uppercut from Ortiz Jr., who's having a very good round. And I tell you, Hooker told Bomac, I couldn't breathe. Sorry, coach. And Bomac said, that round's behind us. Let's go forward.
It was that solar plex punch. That's exactly what it does. Take the wind out of you.
How long does it take you to recover from that?
You don't recover it right away. That's why he was blocking them shots. But even when you block shots when your body's hurt, you're still going to feel the impact of them. Like that.
This is certainly a fight fans fight, differing styles, multiple changes in momentum.
Hooker's elbows are dropping down to defend them ribs. You can expect Ortiz Jr. to come over the top with something big.
Maurice Hooker facing adversity here, but he's succeeded in these situations before. Was dropped by Alex Saucedo in that title defense in the second round, rallied to stop Saucedo, so he's not going to get rattled easily.
Good combination from Hooker.
Hooker's best success has been that short right hand. It's not long, not using his reach, it's in the inside. Little 6-inch punch.
Nice shot from Hooker again. It snapped Ortiz Jr.'s head back.
Hooker's been having success in mid-range. In the mid-range, he's been landing those shots.
Last week, we were fortunate enough to call Chocolatito versus El Gallo here on DAZN. Another pretty darn good main event tonight, also in Texas. Step in right hand. Caught him with a jab as well.
This is right about the time that Mo Hooker lost focus. Zero Ramirez and got stopped. Needs to learn from their mistakes and stay behind the jab. Fight your fight.
Another good jab. Oh, Ortiz thinks he's got him and he might have. Back against the ropes. He'll take a knee. Hooker is down. He will get up.
But will he survive? The onslaught is coming, and this young kid doesn't know how to stop.
and he survives the round.
And there's that chopping right hand that's been landing for Hooker Jr. Short little right hands at the mid-range, but Ortiz Jr. caught him with something big. I believe it was a right hand. Left uppercut, right hand, right there. That started the onslaught in the exact same time that Jose Carlos Ramirez hurt and knocked out Maurice Hooker in that 6th round.
Let's see what Hooker has left in the tank. He goes right after Ortiz Jr. Give the guy credit. He has courage. Chris Mannix, your scorecard through 6.
Well, it's all Vergil Ortiz at this point, 59-54 after that last 10-8 round. His shots, Todd, are just thudding. He is.
Oh, and another right hand as Hooker takes a knee again, and this time he may not get up. He thinks he's broken his hand, and it is over. Vergil Ortiz Jr., the future has arrived at 147 pounds.
It looks like his elbow is dislocated.